On behalf of all assembled here today, I should now like to invite our newest alumnus, Dr. Max Eisen, to address Convocation.
Thank you. It was a wonderful surprise. I had my address, Mr. Chancellor, but it's a Madam Chancellor. Pleased to meet you. Mr. President, members of the graduating classes, distinguished faculty, parents, family, and friends. I visited Western University and the London community many times over the years to speak to students and community groups. Some of these occasions have been a result of my acquaintance with Professor Amanda Grzyb, who I met years ago on a mission to Poland, visiting the death camps. I consider Amanda a dear friend and mentor who was a great help in telling my life story through my recently published book. This occasion, however, is a very special one for me. It is indeed a privilege to receive the honorary degree that you are bestowing upon me today. This recognition of my life's passion and purpose is a high point that I will always cherish. Graduates, this is a momentous day. Today marks the conclusion of your graduate and undergraduate studies in health sciences, arts and humanities, and information media studies. Hours of class time, tutorials, and labs, reading and research, preparing for tests, learning to think critically, completing practicum placements, creating art, and writing stories. And for some of you, the successful completion of a master's thesis and a doctoral dissertation. These are all tremendous achievements. Today, we will all honor your hard work as you walk across this stage to receive your diplomas. It is a time for smiles and applause, photos and celebration. It's also a time for reflection. I'm a Holocaust survivor. In May of 1944, at the age of 15, I was arrested in Hungary along with my entire family and deported to Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp. My grandparents, aunt, my mother, brothers and sister were murdered in the gas chambers immediately upon our arrival, while my uncle, my father, and I were selected by the Nazis for slave labor. My father and uncle died after 2 months of internment, victims of medical experimentation by Nazi doctors. In January 1945, I was marched out of Auschwitz on foot as part of the Death March. I arrived 13 days later in Mauthausen concentration camp in Austria and was eventually liberated from Ebensee concentration camp on May the 6th, 1945, by the 761st Black Panther Tank Battalion, a segregated unit comprised entirely of African-American soldiers attached to General Patton's Third Army. As I was preparing to write this speech, I couldn't help but think about my past and all of those who never had the opportunity to pursue their dreams. I thought about the 1.5 million Jewish children who never had the chance to spread their wings because they were deemed as Untermenschen, subhumans, life not worth living. I think of Anne Frank. If she had survived, she would be 90 years old today, the same age as me. How many books would she have written if she had not died in Bergen-Belsen? I think also of Peter Ginz, who was 10 years old when he witnessed the invasion of Prague by the Nazis. Later, when he was deported to Terezin concentration camp, he started a newspaper called Vedem, meaning we lead, where he wrote about daily life through stories and drawings. Had the Nazis not murdered Peter at Auschwitz, might he have become a famous journalist? I also think about my own brothers, Eugene and Alfred. If they had survived, they might have attended university, leaving their marks on the world of academia or perhaps in religious studies. For me, these lost children represent a lost opportunity and are a reminder of the great privilege of education and the collective responsibility that we all have to educate not only our minds, but also our hearts. Reflecting back on my own experiences during the dark days of the Holocaust, I can clearly see how those who acted from their hearts were integral to my survival. I would like to share 3 such examples with you. One day, while my father's unit was working near the warehouses in Birkenau, another prisoner recognized him, and she kindly gave him a piece of bacon she found in a suitcase. At great personal risk, my father smuggled the bacon into Auschwitz and slipped it into my hand. He told me to eat a little piece each day. I wrapped the bacon in a rag and hid it in a dislodged ceiling tile above my bunk. Each day, I took a small bite, and I could feel the energy flow to my body from its sustenance. This small gift from my father gave me the physical and psychological strength to face the ordeals of the next day. Shortly after my father and uncle were selected for experimentation, while in a labor detail, an SS guard struck me on the back of my head with the butt of a rifle. Gravely injured, I was taken by fellow prisoners to the surgery in Barrack 21 of Auschwitz. My care was overseen by Chief Surgeon Dr. Tadeusz Orzeszko, a Polish political prisoner. When I was not able to walk after 2 days, the SS removed me to a holding area, along with other prisoners who were too sick to work. From there, we would be transported to the gas chambers to be killed. When Dr. Orzeszko saw me with condemned group, he helped me up off the stretcher and led me into the surgery prep room. He gave me a lab coat and told me that I would now work as a cleaner. I will never know what motivated Dr. Orzeszko to risk his own life to save mine, but I will always be grateful that he acted with such humanity in an unimaginably inhumane environment. During the chaos of the death march, I was separated from Dr. Orzeszko. Side by side with other prisoners, I marched 3 days and nights in freezing temperatures and without food. Then we were loaded into open flat cars and had to remain standing for a long journey across occupied Poland and Czechoslovakia. As we passed through Pilsen, I saw a group of people standing on an overhead bridge, throwing bread into the open cars below. The SS guards yelled at them to stop, but they continued until the soldiers fired their rifles to drive them off. Although I was too far away to receive any of the bread, the actions of those people were as nurturing as food itself. At that moment, I knew there were still people in the world who cared. As you conclude your educational journey, you're embarking on something new and exciting. You now have the great privilege and responsibility to shape the minds of future generations and use your scholarly knowledge for good, both in your local communities and on the global stage. It is also your obligation to act from your hearts. First, to nurture your families, just as my father gave me a piece of bacon. Secondly, to offer a helping hand to those in need in your communities, just as Dr. Rozeshko pulled me off the stretcher. And lastly, to aid strangers, just as the people of Pilsen threw bread into our flat cars. You will leave here today with a diploma that enables you to pursue your dreams. You will be leaders, whether it be in the humanities, healthcare, journalism, communications, libraries, research, the public sector, or the corporate sector. You have the skills and the tools necessary to build a fulfilling and meaningful professional career. But most importantly, use those skills to build a better world for future generations. In an age of rising hate crimes, polarization, inequality, and climate crisis, each one of us must be part of the solution to these challenges. In the words of Martin Luther King, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Continue to educate yourselves and continue to learn. Celebrate your successes and learn from your mistakes. Find your passion and work hard on it. Be honest, be humble, ask questions, think critically, confront hatred and injustice, act with courage and integrity, listen, truly listen, be grateful, be kind. I accept this honor today in the names of my siblings, Eugene, Alfred, and Judith. I thank my family, my wife Ivy, my sons Ed and Larry, my granddaughters Amy and Julie, and great-grandchildren for their support and for giving me a life here in Canada. I will leave you with the image of 4 brave young women who were hanged at Auschwitz on January the 6th, 1945, for their act of resistance, helping to destroy one of the gas chambers and crematoriums, thereby saving many lives, whose defiant parting words to us were 2 Hebrew words. I've kept these words in my heart and my soul to this day, and I wish to share them with you as you embark on the next stage of your journey. In Hebrew, chazak ve'amatz, meaning be strong and of good courage. I congratulate each one of you and your families on your tremendous accomplishments. My best wishes to you on your journeys to come. Thank you.